Welcome to episode number 31 of Island by Film. My name is Wes. Today we're going to be talking about the holy grail of film cameras, the Hasselblad XPAN. Wait, you don't think I can actually afford to spend $5,000 on a film camera, do you? Well, do you? Okay, confession time. $5,000, burning a hole in my pocket, nothing else to do with it. No mortgage, no utilities, no kids in school, no bills to pay at all. Oh yeah, you better believe it, I dropped $5,000 on a Hasselblad XPAN. But that's not my reality. Instead, I chose to explore my panoramic vision another way. Enter the Horizon 202. The Horizon 202 is a Russian-built swing lens panoramic film camera that uses 35mm film. It uses an aspect ratio of 29 by 12 or a frame size of 24 by 58. As compared to the Hasselblad XPAN uses a frame size of 24 by 65, so it's a little bit wider, but they're awfully close. The 202 started production in 1989 and since then has been replaced by a few different iterations, but the changes haven't been very significant. The Horizon 202 comes with an f2.8 fixed focus 28mm lens, and it offers a maximum aperture of f16 and offers shutter speeds from 1/2 a second all the way up to 1/250th of a second. This camera is absolutely mechanical. There are no batteries required. All that you need to do is cock the film mechanism and select your desired shutter speed and you're ready to fire. The Horizon 202 is really a very simple camera, but with some limitations to overcome. But if you can overcome these limitations, I think the results are actually quite great. The first limitation of the Horizon 202 is the shutter button placement. This shutter button could not be placed in a more awkward position. When you're trying to hold the camera and to touch that shutter button, it feels like you have to contort your index finger towards the back of the camera, and it just is awkward and doesn't feel natural. Most cameras have shutter buttons that are in a more natural position like this, but you'll notice the shutter button's all the way at the back of the camera here. That's one of the design flaws of this camera. The second thing that I want to talk about in terms of design flaws is how you actually hold the camera. Now, most people would naturally hold the camera like this. You'll hold underneath and place your fingers or hand on this side, and of course you'd want to fire the shutter right here. But the problem with this is, as that lens swings across to capture that panoramic frame, you're also capturing the edges of your fingers, and I'll show you an image right here, right now. So you actually have to kind of somehow contort your hands back here like this and hold it nice and steady like this so that you can fire that shutter button without having to get your fingers in the frame. So yeah, it's a little bit awkward. That's probably the second limitation that I don't like about this camera. And the last thing that is kind of awkward about this camera is loading film. Now, there's plenty of film loading videos online in regards to the Horizon 202, and there's a pretty decent manual you can download, the PDF, which I've actually linked below. But loading this camera is something you don't want to do in the field, or at least you want to be able to sit down, place this on a solid surface, and load the film, because it's awkward. You have to feed the film through 2 liters, and it has to kind of go around a curved frame inside the camera, and all that to say, that's just a little bit challenging, a little bit awkward. Like I said previously, these are just limitations, but definitely not deal breakers. Now, on to the great features about this camera. First and foremost is the viewfinder. So you can see within the viewfinder you have a bubble level, which tells you when your frame is level and your horizon is level on the camera, and that is really, really important, because if you take the camera off level, or you shoot at an angle or too far forward or too far back, you're going to be warping that horizon. I think that's probably one of the reasons they call this the Horizon 202, because you got to keep that horizon level. But The viewfinder is nice and wide. In fact, it's so bright and big that you actually have to kind of look across the frame when you're actually using it. Secondly, I love the fact that this is a fixed focus lens. So you simply just have to use hyperfocal distance and you can get an accurate measurement on what's going to be in focus and what's not. So for example, if you're shooting at f16, everything from 3 feet to infinity will be in focus, or at f8, everything from 6 feet to infinity will be in focus. I highly recommend keeping this camera at the smaller apertures. The images are just that much better quality-wise. Finally, I'm impressed with the image quality of this camera. It's actually pretty decent. It's not really Hasselblad XPAN decent or large massive wall print decent, but it takes really great images and I'm really pleased with the results. Now, many people have talked about the fact that the results vary from camera to camera, and the specific one you get can actually be pretty great and others can be pretty bad. I only have experience with this one, and I bought the cheapest one I could find on eBay because really I just wanted to get my panoramic fix, and the results are great. Now, all the way to the one side of the frame, the far right corner of the frame, seems to be a little softness there, but I've even seen that from more expensive cameras like the Widelux out there, which is arguably a better built and more expensive camera than this one, but I've seen some pretty soft results out of those cameras in those areas, so I'm actually quite blown away at the image quality of the Horizon 202. So without further ado, here's some sample images that I shot. First shot on the expired roll of Superior 400, and then also a roll I shot on Kodak Ektar 100. Thanks again for joining me on iBlay Film. If you like what you saw, click that like button below, click that subscribe button, even click that notification bell icon as well. Thanks again for watching.